shows up. So I'm Gaurav Gambhir. I'm one of the owner founders of the company. I don't play a day-to-day role in this office, but I founded the company. But I play a role of doing other ancillary services. I run the title company, the mortgage relationship, media, transaction management, insurance division, and then I have my own team called TCS Group. So TCS Group used to be called the condo shop. We have a luxury division called Black Label, rental division called Rent Philly, and the condo specialized division called the condo shop. Combined, we call it TCS Group. So I've been in the business since 2005. Got into real estate through commercial experience, got into residential in 2007, and then we started our own brokerage company. Company is called Mega Realty in Huntington Valley. Still own that. I think the company still exists. Hi, good morning. I sold it, bought another company called the Condo Shop in the city in 2010, and then for the last 15 years been running businesses in the city here. So my idea of teaching a class always is, what can I add value? Most of the classes that I teach are mindset based. What are you doing? How do you motivate yourself? I think it's a little cliche at times. It's I feel like sometimes we forget agents and team members. If I was starting a business, I need to know how to make $100,000. It's just like stop the BS and just show me how to make $100,000. Mindset will come anyways. If I make the money, I'll have time and dedication to pay my bills, so I can have more dedication. Come on in, good morning. Now there's no way I'm going to remember all the names. So, Yuri, Dom, Heather, and back again. So we are today? Savannah?
Yes.
As like a Savannah as a Savannah?
Yes.
Savannah?
Maria.
Beef? Rod. So I know everyone else. That's why he's probably going to walk away with I'm not going to add as much value as a roster. Already. So the idea is that, so when I was teaching a class, I gave a little bit of introduction about myself, how I'm in business, been 15 years, been in the city and running a team. So the idea is that how can I help people make money? Tell me just quickly who we have in the team. Who's been in business more than 3 years? Okay, one person. So everybody's more newer to the business. How long have you been in business?
11 years.
No, wonderful. And have you been dual career agent or a full-time agent for 11 years?
A full-time agent. I used to be strictly with developers, and now I'm working with more buyers, so this is very helpful.
Okay, perfect. Come on in. I'm sorry to disappoint you. No. So this particular class, the idea is, every teacher so much. Thanks for sharing. You've been doing this for 11 years, working with developers. I want to cut you off. And I heard you that now you don't want to work with no buyers. Okay. Who are majority of the buyers that we work with? What do they do? What are those buyers doing to me? How do you get new buyers?
Out of all the deals I did, I only had 2 buyers and they were like referrals. So
How do you get new buyers?
referrals or branches sharing buyers.
Okay, perfect. These two are part of my marketing team, TCS Group, so I'm not putting them on the spot with that. So, Maria, how do you get new buyers? So I'll help you out. I'm not putting you in the spot of making you uncomfortable, but I used to get a conversation. So I'll help you out as well. In my opinion, majority of the buyers that are looking to buy from you today, either they have a home, right? They're sellers and looking to sell and then buy something else. They're repeat clients. Majority of the other ones are first-time home buyers. So how many first-time home buyers seminars do you see? A lot. How many people are trying to get buyers? Everybody? What are those buyers doing today? Are we renting? Or they're living in the family? So why are we not, and how many people want to work with renters? Not. So interesting concept. So now let's break down this business, complex business that people talk about. This world is crazy, it's very hard to make money, but it's a very complex. It's not. It's a very simple business. So let's think about this again. We all want to get buyers. We all want to make money. Majority of the buyers that are looking to buy are currently renters. But I want to work with renters. But there's a statistics. 89% of the people will work with the same agent they worked with once in their life. Only 33% of the people actually end up working with them. So I'll break it down for you. So almost 90% of the people will say, if I work with you once, I'll work with you again. It's not if I bought with you once, it's if I interacted with you in real estate once, like the developer side. So if I relation does develop, you're representing a real estate transaction somewhere, I'm comfortable to work with you again. You could have rented me something. There are people who go back to their mortgage guys and say, could you advise somebody else that you know in this area? So there's so many other relationships out there, but only 33% will get it. So 90% will want to work with you. 1/3 will end up working with you. Why? Because the other 66% that are not going to want to work with you, or they don't stay in touch with you. So how many people do we rent that we stay in touch with, asking them if you like to buy? Not many, right? So we do, but we have a consistent system. Do we stay in touch? You may have learned all this 33 touch program, 40 touch program. They're all built for buyers and follow-ups for people that you've worked with once, right? So now I've sold it to somebody as a buyer. How do I stay in touch with them to get them as repeat clients? There's a 40 touch program. They already teaches that. But what about this renter that I rented? How do I stay in touch with them to get this first-time buyer? Not many. So when I started my business, in 2005 when I got a license, I was a dual career agent. I had a full-time job. I couldn't afford to leave my job, so I wanted to do, I had time. I said, well, I have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm going to work as many hours as possible, but I have a 40-hour job that pays my bills, and I'm going to actually add more business create opportunities for me as an entrepreneur. Weekends, evenings, early mornings was a lot of time, which was almost 40 more hours after work. So I had dual career is what I call. Not part-time, I could be dual career. And that's why I call you guys as well. If you're a full-time position somewhere else, you are a dual career agent in real estate. I started learning, and it was very easy for me to build relationships. I did not realize what I just explained to you about the stats. I just stayed in touch with them, wanted to get them as potential buyers in the future, or having referrals from them. And I realized in about 3 years' time, I was already doing a big business without realizing, without having a full-time opportunity to live in real estate. And when that came by, I said, wow, like 3 years passed by. People are just calling me, I'm staying in touch with them, and they want to buy. So I can make enough money where I can leave my full-time job and go and do real estate. That's how I started.
What were your touches? Like, how did you stay in touch?
Facebook, phone call, invite them to play table tennis. I made some friends. I was playing cricket as an Indian guy. We had a lot of people who I helped with Indian people moving around here. We played cricket together. I formed an Indian association. Actually, I formed a cricket association, and about 20, 30 of people were there. They all invited me. Nice. So if I can have 20 people buy from me 3 years later at an average of $300,000, make me $10 million worth of sales, let's divide them 3 more years, $3.5 million of sale, and an average of commissions are negotiable, 2.5%, making $75,000, $80,000 from the repeat clients. Plus I'm doing 15, 20, 30 rentals. I'm making $100,000 while I have a full-time job. It sounds so simple. It is simple. We just don't do the work. Just don't do the work. So the question always comes in, what are you willing to do to achieve what you desire to achieve? So I'm going to show you some simple conversations that I teach the team members, I teach the newer agents as well. Let's talk about what can we say? How do you think analytically? So some people are emotionless. They don't understand numbers. They're scared of numbers. So don't use all the numbers and bombard them because they're going to get scared. Then there are people who say, I'm very analytical. Now the question is, are you analytical? Ask yourself, are you emotion-based or are you number-based? Right? What if you're emotion-based and you have somebody else on the other side? I know he's number-based. What if you're emotion-based and you have a client who's number-based? How's that going to work out? Not well. But if you're all number-based, made down like how I am, and you're emotion-based, how's it going to work out? I got to tone it down. Otherwise, it's not going to really work out. I'm going to scare them away. But as agents, as an expert, you don't understand both sides. Fair? Hot right there, Maria. All right. Okay. So welcome and training overview. I'm not going to go line by line and teach you, what does this paragraph mean. I'm going to use that as my bullet points. I like saying stories and I like talking about, real life experiences. So how to talk confidently about the market. That's one of the things that we all need to say. Why do we call this? You're the expert. If you don't have data, and how do you become an expert? Study. You get information. Researching. If you can't talk the research, how would you portray to somebody that you spend 10 hours learning? So what's your pitch? How do you tell a new person who's coming in? So I teach another class, and I use this scenario. You'll see me if you ever attend my other classes called negotiating. In negotiating, I'm going to summarize one scenario for you. This is negotiating. Okay? So you and I meet today. You do not know me. We started in playing field. I gave you my history. You know what I was doing? I was negotiating. So establishing my value so you pay more attention to me. So I use buzzwords. The companies I own, how long I've been in business, what business I've started. I started by saying I'm the owner and the founder of this company. Gets your attention. That's negotiating. So what you said, you may not realize I was negotiating, but it was all negotiating. So similarly, when you are, that's why this happens. And then when I asked you how long you've been in business, and you put your hand up and you say, well, I'll go for developer, sort of, you were negotiating with me. I'm not a newbie. I've been 11 years selling for developer. You're negotiating. Not realizing it, but that's what we're doing. You do the same thing when you talk to a client on first day. You negotiate. I bought 3 homes in the past. I've traveled 3 states. I've done this so many times. I have a big business. I'm an attorney. They're negotiating. If you don't speak the language to negotiate higher up, you lose the conversation. And once this hierarchy is established, it stays there for a while. So then you become a door opener for them, and they don't want to listen to you. But if you establish it this way, you become a stronger person, then you control the conversation and the relationship. Fair? So how do you confidently talk about the market? You have to read the stats. You have to understand some buzzwords. When I use it, did anybody doubt me when I said 89% of people end up working with the same person? Doubt me? You didn't ask me a question.
When you clarify that 33% of people ended up sticking with the same agent and doing another transaction, I believe that more. The reason I doubted you, it's not you, it's just that I know that I come from the car business and I know nobody follows up there. So I know nobody follows up here because it's human nature. Nobody likes to call people, and people are lazy. I just don't see 9 out of 10 people staying with the same brokerage. I don't see it.
9 out of 10 people would stay with the same person.
Yeah, that's right.
So I didn't say 9 out of 10, but 89% will stick around. 89% would want to stick around with the same person if that agent stays in touch with them. But 90% of people are willing to work with the same person because they may not have been comfortable buying a car from somebody if they didn't really feel that comfortable. They will depend on the value and other stuff. They'll say, depends on the value. It's different, we can get into detail. 90% of people say, I had a good experience. If they had a good experience, stick around. Why would I don't want to go and learn from somebody else. I'm the guy. But not able to go back and do that. That's the point is that use stats, use numbers, read market data, use them in your conversation. Set this hierarchy. You will see the difference when you're dealing with clients. How to overcome buyer objections. You can't overcome the buyer objections if you don't have the data behind it because they are the ones who are having an emotional conversation with you. How do you overcome the objections? By giving more experience. But as a newer agent, you may or may not have that much experience to say. I go in by saying, well, I've done 100 transactions. Trust me. Negotiating. Setting up my buyer objection by saying, well, you think it's not a good time to buy. I think it's a good time to buy, and I can explain why. And because I've done X number of transactions in my lifetime, can I have that opportunity to be able to explain to you? Probably will earn the right of doing that. Because I use the data. Or I could say, well, 50%, I don't know this data, I'm making that up. If I said, and I use the data, hey, 64% of the people today who are renting are in the market to buy something. You should also consider that. If I had that data, wouldn't that be beneficial to understand? So that's how you win the buyer objections, but not by saying market is doing great. My gut says a good time to buy. Why? I just know it. Why? I hear the news. I need to make money. I need to make money. You will not say that, but if that's what's going to happen, is that's going to come out. That's the feeling they're going to get. You will never win objections like that. You have to have information behind it. And we're going to talk about some scripts as well. I'm going to go into this as well.
What do you say when it's like you don't have as many deals, especially like as a newer agent? Like for you, you could say.
I'm part of Keller Williams Empower. We are one of 1,100 agents, 103 transactions in the city of Philadelphia. It goes to my office. I have access to all the best agents in the planet in the city of Philadelphia in my office. I'll get you the best opportunity in the city of Philadelphia you will.
We have a bunch of agents, we'll have a bunch of reach to thousands of buyers all over the city, we'll get eyeballs on your property.
Exactly. Which you do. That's true. Which you do. You're not lying. The question is, are you willing to put in the work to go ask those people for those opportunities? That's on you. What you said was a fact. Now it's on you. You can only fool people once, maybe twice, not make a career out of it. So if you did not do the work, it will catch up because majority of their business is going to come from referrals. That's what he said. I got referrals. Referrals, conversion. Working with the same renter, converting to buyers. Same stat. So you need to spend the education. So one more statement. How many chronic careers do you guys know where you can, actually before I say that, Jonathan. Hello. Hi. What's your when you get you're new in the business, part of our team, what's your annual goal to make money in your first year?
I want to make at least 100 days.
Okay. Pete, right? Pete, what's your goal?
Set a number, just looking for closed units.
Okay, how many closed units?
So they have 8.
8 closed units. Okay. Don, what's your goal?
150.
150. Yeah. How many careers do you guys know? How many hours do you spend in real estate getting a license? 75. How many careers do you guys know where you can take 75 hours worth of class and have a potential of making 100,000, 150,000 a year? How many professions do you know?
Sales, I'll say any sort of sales, if you're working for the right company, you've got the right product, you can sell anything. If you can sell a house, you can sell the moon.
Okay. So, do you make that money in the first year without the experience?
You have to have experience, you have to have knowledge, you have to have something.
Exactly. You go to school for 3 or 4 years or 5 or 7 years, depending on the career. You pay them 30, 40, 50, $80,000 a year. You don't make any money because you're so busy running. So I'll just take a 4-year education. I spend $50,000 a year, 4 years, $200,000. I didn't make $100,000 a year, which I should have, which I want to, which I should have. That's cut in half, another $50,000. That's another $200,000. I'm deep $400,000 for 4 years. Right? 200,000 actual money, 200,000 lost opportunity. Before I can earn the right of making $50,000 a year. Real estate, I can be 75 hours, and I have now the opportunity to actually pick up on customers. One thing is missing. There's no shortcuts. No. You either spend 4 years learning the business to have the opportunity to make money, or you get the license, get the opportunity, but you still learn to be able to consistently make that money. There's no shortcuts. You have to have the education or the experience. How do you get that fast? By surrounding yourself with the right people who are talking about it and learning about it. So you have to come to classes like this. You have to have this discussion. You have to meet with each other. You have to go online and read podcasts. Or listen to podcasts. You have to go read the Bright MLS market data report. Without that, you're trying to take a shortcut. It's very tough. Very tough. And that's why the attrition rate is so high. How many people graduate being architects and doctors and nurses and leave the business? A lot. Not a lot. How many people get into sales business and leave the business? A lot. Why? Because they're not willing to put the time and energy it takes to become an expert to earn the right to make a consistent income. They get it for a shortcut. No, there's no shortcuts. So, understanding a first-time buyer mindset. How many of you guys own a home? So, you all went as a first-time home buyer when you bought your first place. You asked a lot of questions, you had a lot of fears, what the process looks like. How do you make the same thing for the next person? Because now you already have an understanding of it. First, you have to understand what are they thinking, what are the fears that they have. Because if you know what questions, if you know what fears the person has, I might be able to resolve them by preparing better in those conversations. But if I don't know what you're gonna ask, like I feel comfortable standing here and making the conversation because I don't mind the question you ask. It's not the first time. My script came out so fast because I've been saying that for a while. But the first time, I had no confidence. My words were blurry. I did not know what I was going to say. I thought after the conversation was over, which I should have said two more things at that time. It's just repeat script practicing. That just comes out naturally. It's not as a course of pattern, because I've been saying this for so long. So you have to understand the other side as well. Tools to help renters become buyers, I'll show you a few here. And then shift to educating mindset. Nobody likes to have a salesperson. Unfortunately, coming from the sales background for carsing, if you look at the stats of the cars of the sales roles, car salespeople are considered lower, and unfortunately, real estate is not too far from there. It's not too far. Why? Why is that?
We don't do the right thing by people. We're greedy. People don't trust us.
No,
But it's true.
no, I don't 100% agree with that. Is anybody here going to steal or cheat people in real estate? No. I don't think people in the same process are out either. I think there's a fundamental flaw in it. The fundamental flaw that I feel today.
Structural ecosystem.
Structure is interesting.
I'll tell you what. In the car business, right? You as my customer, you and I are enemies. Either I win and I take your money, or you win and you take my profit. Here we're teammates. I help you beat up the seller or the buyer or whoever. So it's different. We're a team now.
I'm not going to go on a tangent, but I don't agree with that either. Because the rules have changed. As a buyer, you don't get guaranteed a split from the other side anymore. You have to show your value to your client. Unless you bring value, you're not getting paid. Right? So I'm on the other side. How do I create a win-win? I don't have to. There has to be a way for me to win without you losing. Well, that's what I win. But let's not go to tangent. I agree with you, but I think what the fundamental was. The fundamental problem is that there's no 4 years of education that creates validity on day one. That's the problem. People think that people who get into car salespeople or in the salesmanship or real estate, you get a license for 75 hours and you only here for a commission because you don't have the education. Once you get the experience, you create credibility. Use that for yourself. If you can't have that on day one for yourself, use it as a team and a company. That's how you build credibility. And then focus on the education. Always think about how can I help you. So I need to know more to be able to explain more. Sorry, I'm very open to conversation and then real world practice. You got to have this more and more. All right. So guiding with confidence, how do you do that? Helping clients understand the financial power of homeownership. So education and guiding them comes very strong if you understand the value of homeownership. Okay. So anybody, and I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. I'll ask you. Anybody willing to play a script practice with me? So why should I buy? I'm a first-time home buyer. I want to rent for the next 10 years because media and my friends have told me I should never buy. Why should I buy?
So, Mr. Customer, here's the deal, right? I like to think of the masses as sheep. You never want to be the guy that's following the sheep. You want to be the shepherd, herding them. Right now, the masses in the media are scared to buy. Why? Because interest rates are high, they can't afford the payments, or if they're buying it to rent, they're not going to be cash flow positive. You, Mr. Customer, you know more than them, because what you know is demand in the city has cooled down since rates have gone up, and right now, since we're on the cusp of recession with everything going on, in the next year or so, rates are going to fall. We have nowhere to go on down. As soon as rates fall, demand is going to go back up in the city because people want to live here, even though 809 remain stable. So when demand goes up, damn, all prices are going up. Why don't you buy now, refi in a year, get the low price, get the low rate, win fucking win. Excuse my language.
We'll agree with them. Everybody agree with them?
A little aggressive.
You guys are doing it. Come on.
A little aggressive for my liking.
Yeah,
You
let's
can't
do that.
guarantee that interest rates
Yeah.
are gonna go down.
Okay,
You have no idea.
so let's do that, right?
Eventually, they're gonna go down. Like first, we guarantee it. Down the line.
Okay, so that doesn't fly. I love your script, your confidence. I think I agree. So let's use their objections. They're real buyers. Amen. She has a concern that I respect your emotional value to the industry is going to go down. That's what my friend who bought 2 years ago, their agent said as well. Interest rates have not gone down in 2 years. So would you put your money in the line and not charge me commission till the interest rate goes down? If you're so confident.
Listen, honestly, this is a business that's how I feed my family, and a discount service is another service that you want and you need. I cannot put my commission on the line, and you're right, maybe rates won't go up, it won't go down. I don't have a crystal ball.
Sure.
But honestly, looking at the macroeconomic factors, if you analyze the economy, you talk to smart people who analyze the economy, within the next couple of years, with everything going wrong, rates have nowhere to go but down. So,
Yes.
Mr. Customer, I'll give you another statistic. And I don't know the exact number of impressions, but about 64% of customers who waited for prices to fall or rates to go down ended up buying within the same year and at a higher price. So take it as you wish, Mr. Customer. Like you might be right, but you might also be wrong.
That's fine. So I would lean more on the home value because historically, home values are always going to go up. So again, you're not going to say like for sure home values are going to go up, but you have more of a history that shows that you invest in property, you're going to go up it. Whereas interest rates, you have no idea. Like we're possibly on board. Like there's so many different factors that go into that. So I feel like if you want to make promises, lean on the home value.
Always put data.
Yeah.
So words can only go so far. Having data behind it will always support you. Trust me, conversations don't really go there. So change the script a little bit. I love the confidence. I love the information. The story you're saying how it's going to go. I think it's a I think it's a lot of value from that. A lot of it. The ending with trust me changes everything you say. So because they don't know you. And if you're becoming as strong, like you said, you came with a much more speaking louder doesn't make you right.
So I want you to hear me.
I hear you well. But I'll give you a feature of saying just never end with trust me. Because what basically says is whatever I said, I have no way to prove it. Now trust me. As compared to this is all I have learned. Here's the data to back it up. Now you make the decision. What do you want? So each mortgage payment builds equity in your home. So the education points. So you can touch it in a way that you want. The benefits of homeownership. If you're renting, how much money goes towards your savings? Zero. So I'll visualize it for you. Mr. Tenant, Mrs. Tenant, take out what's your rent? $2,000 a month. Imagine you're taking $2,100 bills on the first of every month. Imagine, close your eyes, think about it. I take $2,100 bills. I go to the bank, take a lighter on fire. And then next cost comes in, you take that, light on fire. But Gaurav, so is interest. I give it to the bank. When I take out money from my pocket, I pay the interest, I light on fire. Not true. Because interest is not tax deductible. So you burn a portion of that, not the whole thing. A portion of that is principal equity. So now you're building equity. So how would you feel, tenant, if out of $2,000, now you're burning 1,000 of it and keeping 10 in your pocket? A bit better, right? A little bit better. But if you pay off your loan, you don't have to pay anything. So every month, you're actually burning less and less and less interest to the point where you're going to pay it off. My goal is to help you save that $2,100, not burn them in fire. So would you be interested in having a conversation about how I can help you achieve that? Yes, I want to learn more. That's going to be from my education perspective. Okay? So your job is to make them think. So that once you start educating them, now there's trust is building. But I'm also doing this. Right? So now increase your net worth over time. You may have read this, you can Google this. I don't have to teach you these things that massive wealth in the world is built through investing in real estate. Generational wealth is built in real estate. Don't have to trust me, but trust me. But it's on Google as well. Search it. That's a proven fact. Most people know that. How do you do that without investing in real estate? You have to start someplace. Deduct mortgage interest and property taxes. How much rent can you deduct from your taxes? Zero. Do you understand how much taxes and and interest can you deduct? If you don't, I'll be happy to explain that to you. Because my goal is to burn less $100 bills per year. That's a script that I have created. You make your own what you feel comfortable. But the idea is the same. My job is to help you save money in the business. Reduce your taxable income. If I have to pay taxes. If I'm able to reduce my taxes, there's more money in my pocket. What can I do with more money in my pocket? I can invest or can get a better lifestyle. So I'm going to teach you how to be able to achieve that. So it's not as simple as just saying renting versus buying. There's value for buying, but you maybe don't understand the relationship. Let me explain it. All right, here's an example. This is I didn't make it. I went to Google and copied it. You can find this anywhere. You can take a photo here. So if somebody is doing $2,000 a month rent, somebody is doing $2,000. They stay in that place for $72,000. So $2,000 a month, 3 years rent is $72,000. They stay in that place for 10 years. That's $240,000. If somebody stays in that same space, paying $2,000, or a different apartment paying an average $2,000, in 30 years you'll pay $720,000. So how much of this money are you willing to pay as a tenant? Because whoever you're paying that much money towards somebody else's mortgage. So the first question you ask yourself is, how many years have I been living where I'm living? How much rent am I paying? And do the math in your own mind if you don't own something today. How much money have I paid in rent to somebody else who owns a place? Because somebody's paying the mortgage off. Either it's you for yourself, or either it's you for someone else. Which side do you want to be on? I'd rather pay for myself than pay for. Well, then why aren't you buying?
Right.
What are the few top reasons when people say I don't own anything? Let's just talk another conversation. Why don't you buy?
Down payments.
Down payment.
Down payment, yeah.
Down payment.
Credit score.
Okay, how much down payment do you need to buy?
3%.
3%. Okay. On a $300,000 place, how much money do you need?
$9,000.
Okay. When you rent something for $2,500, how much money do you need?
$30,000 over a year.
No, how much rent do you need?
Oh,
That's security. $7,500. So you're saying you can go with $7,500, but you can't go with $9,000.
And 3% down payment, there is the MPA also, mortgage payment.
Okay.
There's PMIs doing all this stuff. People want to buy the PMIs. PMIs, the payments, like really high. And then I can look at
That's a generic statement we can just make throughout the world and saying people should not buy because it'll pay you.
I'm just saying, oh, you ask for objections, like, no.
I have to pay PMI. That's what objection is. Okay, I have to pay PMI. So you'd rather take
But whenever you
interest
go
money.
in person, then PMI will reduce that.
What's the interest on rent? 100%.
Yeah.
So you does not pay a few percentage for PMI, then pay 100% interest on your rent.
Right.
I'm not arguing with you. Having objection handled it like we're playing script practicing. So that's a good question, but why aren't you doing it else?
I don't know where I'm going to be in the next couple of years, so I'm unstable.
Good. Okay. So that's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know where I'm going to be in the next few years. I have to. I may decide. Okay. So let's just use an example. How much did you rent today? $3,000. So $3,000. Can you just because I have this on paper? Is it 3 years? Okay. So you're going to pay $108,000 in payment to somebody. Somebody else's mortgage. So let's say you buy something today. What's the cost of buying? $400,000. So $400,000 place I'm going to buy. What is my cost
Cost
of?
of acquisition.
So transfer tax, mortgage, closing fees. Can I say 4%? And now I have to sell it. How much would I sell it at? Same price, $400,000. How much would I sell it? My cost would be what? Sales, commissions, transfer tax, and can I say like 5-6%? Total 10%? On $400,000, how much money would I lose after buying and selling in 3 years?
40 grand.
40 grand. How much did I lose here? $108,000. So why would you not just sell it? But let me just tell you one more thing. Do you how much money do you put down? 3%. Do you need that 3% again to buy something new? or buy now because you can afford to pay 3,000 a month. I'm hoping you're managing your money better where you can have another 3% or 4% to buy something else. Don't sell this place. Keep it. I'll show you a path of how to rent it. I'll get you local property management companies, so you don't have to worry about repairs and maintenance. And then let me show you how to build a wealth over time, because now you become the other side, and that tenant is going to pay this much of your loan or mortgage payment in 3 years. And if that person stays for 30 years, guess how much money you made? So why would you sell? So most people don't understand that conversation, or most agents don't understand that conversation. I'm of the belief that because most agents don't understand how to sell or understand the value, they're not able to explain or win a conversation with the tenant, because the tenant is going to end up ruling the conversation. Either we don't have the facts together, or the knowledge together, or just information in front of us. Seeing is believing. You got to show that. If I just said, you're going to pay thousands of dollars on behalf of the land, that conversation versus in 3 years, you're going to pay $93,600. Much bigger valuation. All right, I made this small subject. Anybody smart enough than me to tell me how to do it? Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Okay. So I made this simple Excel sheet to talk to somebody, and I'll try to explain to you, which you can. I'm happy to send. If you send, we'll figure out a way that can get this Excel sheet to you. Okay. Very simple to make. I'm using an example of a home price of $400,000. I'm saying I'm putting 10% down at 360 loan amount. I'm at an interest rate today for 7%. So it's all rounding example purposes only. But at this numbers, the payment on a monthly basis, I have to be careful on what I spend on this. No, not too much. So it's 2395.09. I understand you have to add taxes and property insurance to that as well for home ownership. Fair? So I can buy something for 400,000, put 10% down. I'm making it simple. There's closing costs involved, there's taxes and insurance as well. Okay, so now let's say a tenant says, I'm going to wait for prices to go down because I think, politically speaking, something is going to happen in politics and market is going to crash and the price is going to come down. I'm just waiting for that. So you're not waiting for interest rate, you're only waiting for prices to come down. Yes, okay. So let's assume 5% cost goes down. So you're now borrowing $342,000, and in this example, we're saying the interest rate remains the same. My payment is $22.75, so I save $119.75 a month. So till that happens, I'm going to continue renting. I'm waiting for prices to come. So I want to save $119 a month. So what you don't want to do is for 2 years, if you're waiting, for 24 months, you pay $57,600 in rent because you want to save $119 a month. Out of this money, $7,400 was your principal reduction. Principal reduction is basically taking money from your right pocket, putting in your left pocket, which you can take out at any given time, or when you sell, you get the money back. So in 2 years, at this interest rate, my principal reduction was $7,400. That's $300 a month. So what you're saying is that you're going to wait for 2 more years to buy, to save $119 a month, when you're going to make more money by just paying a mortgage. And we are not counting any interest deduction expense, which even if you were deducting $10,000 in interest, and you were at 30% tax bracket, it's another $3,000. So now that's $500 savings a month. So help me understand. Why are you waiting? Because you didn't understand these things. Because you don't know how to put an Excel sheet together. It's because nobody's trying to have a conversation with you, or am I missing something? Why are you waiting for this? This is where the value is. So now let's say another example. Anybody want to argue with me on that one? I'd love to have a discussion on that. Make sense? Another person. Well, I know prices are not going to go anywhere. Supply is less, demand is more, or whatever scenario you want to create. I'm waiting for interest rates to come down because I know that's going to help. And I've been told that for a small interest rate for 30 years is thousands of dollars. So I'm just gonna wait for that. Okay. So now price remains the same, that means my loan amount is the same. Interest rate goes down by 0.5%. Okay? Honest to God, just happened to be a coincidence. I didn't create this. 2275.44, $119 a month. So it was easier for me not to create one of the scenarios like, oh, this is interesting. I tested my math twice. Interesting. I could change it to 0.625 and make a different number, and I have more work. So I said, okay, same math, same conversation. So now you're waiting for 0.5% to go down for another 1 year. How long have you been waiting? How long have interest rate been at 7%? 2.5 years, 2 years minimum. So you've been waiting for 2 years for the interest to come down by 0.5%. And you paid $57,000 so far. How's that worked out for you? And guess what? Here's another script I use. The interest rate of today is the best interest rate you'll ever get. The interest rate of today is the best interest rate you will ever get. You know why? If it goes up, you're capped at this. If it goes down, you'll refinance. This was the best. What are you waiting for? If it goes up, congratulations. If it goes down, refinance. Congratulations. So what's the logic of waiting? So I can pay this for somebody else's mortgage. To me, it makes no sense. So now somebody says, you know what? Now I'm going to explain something. The word up there is home prices are increasing by 5%. Okay? So what you were saying, from my experience, I know this is a fact, that when interest rates goes lower, people can afford more for the money. So sellers, and if I'm a seller's agent, I'll explain to my client that you can charge more because at the end of the day, most people look at the affordability, how much they can pay on a monthly basis, than the purchase price. So there's other, if people are so emotionally attached to purchase prices, value would have never historically gone year after year after year after year. If the buyer today didn't pay more than the buyer yesterday, prices will never go up. Make sense? Prices always go up, historically speaking. Not a moment of time, but in a given time frame. So I'll come back to you. So in looking at that time frame, I know as an experienced person that if the interest rate goes lower, prices usually go higher. So if that happens, while you give me two scenarios, Mr. Tennant, let me give you a scenario that I think should happen, that I have seen historically also happen. Why did prices during COVID time, after that, when interest rates went down historically low, how did the prices go up? And how much have they come down? From 2.5% to 7% interest rate. How much did they go down? Not much. They stayed there because the person who bought at the price as a seller is not emotionally tied to the price as well, forgetting how much money they were investing as a percentage and interest rate, and now they want that much money because people are emotionally attached to the price. But fundamentally, they were buying it for this amount. So now let's do that. Okay. So now let's say prices went up 5%, interest rate did go down 5%. So you're right and I'm right. Okay. Now you're gonna pay an extra $6.
Yeah, I think that's in labor.
There's no benefit to wait for this. So in my mind, Mr. Tennant, you said if my interest rate goes down, price will remain the same. I don't agree with you. If interest rate goes down, price will actually go up. So if this really happened, while you think you're saving $190, what you're actually doing is saving nothing. And what did you end up doing? End up paying 5% more by happily getting a 5% interest rate less. If I spend 15 minutes with a client like this, or if you spend 15 minutes with a client like this, do you think the conversation changes? No. For whatever we discussed initially, whatever script we were having, trust me, that 10-minute PMI, all those things, whatever the conversation might be, irrelevant. Irrelevant. This is what most agents don't understand. To be able to sit and confident, you can make this much more expensive. Make a 5-year graph. In 5 years, how does it look like? In 10 years, how does it look like? So I bought my first property. It's a fact. I bought my first property at the age of 23. I'm 46. So from the age of 23, I bought a property and I'm 46, 23 years. It just got paid off. I lived in a property for 3 years. For 23 years, or 20 more years, somebody paid my mortgage. I bought it for 245, is worth 375 today. I put down 3.5% when I bought it, because I didn't have any money. And I lived there for 3 years and I moved out and it's not paid off. I made $300,000. Anybody can do that. It's because we want to make that money today. We don't want to wait 23 years. But unfortunately, we will all live enough to go back and say 20 years ago something happened. Why are we, who are the experts of real estate, not doing that for ourselves and expecting others to do for them? You got to live that yourself. How would you feel if you went to a dentist who had really bad teeth? How would you feel? Bad. Really bad. So why did we do it? It's because we ourselves did 75 hours of education and became the expert of our mind. We did not go through the 4 years of classes and exams to test our knowledge, to be able to stand behind it as well. This is, in my mind, was what I did not understand this originally, but over a period of time, having new responsibility and being very much more data focused. I may have gone over some of those head because they don't like data, they don't like numbers. That could be possible. You said you don't like numbers. This might be too much, but you will find clients who are emotionally and numerically inclined. As an expert, you need to have both. So if you're not numerically inclined, that means you have to work harder. What happened when I didn't like bio? Since I'm math inclined, I didn't like bio. Guess what I had to do? I had to spend 10 times more time learning bio. They would not let me graduate without it. Same thing for you. You have to just end up spending more time to do that. But running away from that is not going to help. You're going to lose 50% of the buyers. The business will now become, I want to make up $200,000 a year, $200,000 a year. All those clients are not a recurring business. Then going back in time, you'll see them around. So I highly advise you that whatever you don't like, spend more time learning it. You can't just shy away. You're the expert. You look at what's next. Any questions on this? Yeah.
I just wanted to add something to what you said about the rates falling and prices going up. A lot of the reason why we have such high prices and such low supply is because everybody that got a mortgage in 21 at 299 is sitting on it. If rates go down, there's going to be a ton of inventory in the market, and so on. So
everybody who didn't want to pay 5% more or 7% more of asking price in 2021, how has that played out for people who waited, and how has that played out for people who didn't wait? Mm-hmm. But similarly, people who bought in 2019 or 2018, before all this change of interest rate, how does that work for them? They bought something for 6%, prices were lower, it went up high, they refinanced, my concept still remains the same. They got it at 6%, were happy, when it went on 2.5%, they refinanced, but they never paid 7. Never paid 7. That's the best, that's the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. So what is the best time to buy for with interest rates? Today. Never going to be better than today. All right, so advising first-time home buyers, why now makes sense and how to show the value. So freedom from rent hikes or forced moves. People who are renting, has your rent gone up in the last 3 years? People who own, have your mortgage gone up in the last 3 years? If you refinance, could have gone up. Ever go up? Not your mortgage payment. Taxes and insurance can go up, but not your monthly mortgage payment. That's a small part of your mortgage. Customize your space to fit your style and needs. I hear this a lot from people. I'm waiting to buy my dream home. Are you living in your dream rental place? Most people are not. They're saving money. Some people are. Some people are. If you're spending a lot of money to stay in an awesome place, I would advise you to still go back and check the math of those living. Because either we're spending on a luxury car or we're building wealth for long time. If there's a difference between buying power and affordability. We make the cash because spend the money. But are we really willing to be, can we actually afford to spend that money on the luxury that we have, as compared to, is this the best use of money that I can use to create wealth for me and my family for the long term? Or am I going to look back 20 years from now and I pay $108,000 for somebody in 3 years and saving it for myself?
Your journey, not mine. And everybody has a right of their own journey. I'm not judging them. I just want to show you the facts saying if this is what you want to achieve, the other strategy is not going to work. But if that's a good strategy and that you'll stick with it, there's a concept called forever renters. And as a landlord, I own them. But as a coach and somebody that is my clients, I'm not going to teach them. So customize your space to fit your style and needs. Today, there's no harm in buying a $300,000 place when you're looking for something for $600,000 is what the lifestyle you want for a dream home. Stay there for 3 years, move up. You all don't go buy a dream car today. I'm not going to wait to buy a car and go in buses and trains for the next 12, 14, 15 years. I'm going to buy something you can afford today. And then I'm going to upgrade. The shoes, the watches, the cars, the vacation, everything we upgrade as a lifestyle fits our needs. Why am I waiting for the dream home then? Because that's what we're taught and they read in the magazines and Pinterest. It's a lack of education. Opportunity to refinance and restructure. I already discussed that. Buyers can't negotiate. I can't afford that for $450. Yeah, because you're not a good negotiator. Come to me, I'll help you negotiate. What price makes sense? Not an emotional value, let's do comps. Let me show you what the actual value is, and if I can get you better than that, I might be able to get you some seller's assist so you don't even need 3%. What if I could get you inside his house for $5,000? Would you be interested? Now, that's on me. Can I go and find that? Can I create a scenario of that? Can I get you a grant from the city of Philadelphia? Does everybody know how much money you can get from the city of Philadelphia for free to buy first-time home buyer programs? No. Go learn. Call Guaranteed Rate, our in-house lenders. They're sitting upstairs. Go talk to them and say, yeah, I have a buyer. If I had a buyer, first-time home buyer, how much money can I get free money? They're giving $1,600 to every buyer to close for every transaction. $1,600. That pays for your home inspection, appraisal report, and notary, and everything, half the other stuff that is involved. So I take care of $1,600. I take care of seller's assist. I get from City of Philadelphia. You could be in for zero money. And the first objection our clients are giving us is that I need 3.5 to 10% money. What if I could find a situation? Is the problem the client or the problem us? We don't know. Rent is 100% interest. So fears of first-time home buyers, high interest rates. We talked about that. Myths about large down payments. We just talked about that as well. Fear of market crashing. How much you lose actual money if the property values went down?
None. Assuming you put down 3%, none.
You don't lose any money till you sell. Who's asking you to upgrade at the time if the market went down in value? Don't overspend, don't over leverage. If you can afford it and you can find a tenant for that price, and you had to move to a different place, the force then renting or spending $108,000 will be $40,000. You're still making that better. But $40,000 in one shot hurts. But $3,000 a month is okay for 3 years because everybody around me is doing that. So you say the example of, do you want to be the sheep and the herd, or you want to be the person different? I want to be different. Because I want to learn by, but not by emotional value, by factual value. Why don't I have this follow everybody who's renting? The average life savings from people, you should go and Google this thing. What is the average net worth of a person in the US?
49,000.
Is that correct?
No, no, it's just the close enough.
I don't know the number. It's somewhere in the $50,000 to $75,000. I have my one property paid off for $300,000. My net worth is more than the average person at the age of 23 when I started. To know what it's going to be in 25 years. And as you build more and more and more, it's much, much better. Lack of understanding of the process. I think that's the agent guilty of it. 100% agent guilty of it. Because we are not learning from people who have done this for 4, 10, 15, and PhD are teachers. Why is Columbia University and Princeton University much more highly ranked than some other university? Because the people who are teaching there brings the experience and the knowledge, which is much more than some of the other professors. Can't really just get learning in 75 hours. And a lifestyle concerns. I want my dream home. That's one thing I always do. I'm waiting for my dream home.
I think there's only one slide left. So from script to success, practice like it's real. Common buyer objections. Interests are too high. I can't afford the maintenance. Oh, that's not the one. I don't want to worry about the maintenance.
Too much work, mowing the lawn.
Or I can call my landlord for a faucet. I can call them. You know what? I'll give you another example. Call a management company and saying, I'll give you $100 a month to manage the contractors. And most of the times, if the faucet breaks or the light bulb changes or the filter, majority of the time the tenant caused the problem, the tenant has to wait for it.
Yeah.
It's only the bigger stuff. So now you don't want to pay the money because you understand you're going to save 64,000 from 108,000 minus 40, or you don't want to manage it. But I don't want to manage it. How about $400 a month? I have a management company manage for you. Management company manages for investors. The other landlord, act like a landlord. Become your own tenant. In your mindset, I'm going to work. Mr. Management Company, send somebody. That's what the landlord is going out of California, buying a property in Philadelphia. So why can't you do that? So now if I charge you $1,200 for a management company or refer somebody to you, would that solve that problem? Sure it will. Because landlord, so that, another thought always to keep in mind is that no landlord will actually afford or buy an investment property if it wasn't money making for them. Most landlords will end up selling if it wasn't making the money. So if you're a tenant paying the money to a landlord and the landlord is paying for the expense and the repairs and the maintenance and the management fees and all this stuff, please know they're making money. Don't be super smart thinking the landlord is stupid. Be the landlord of stuff. Maybe you have a question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rob. It's amazing. That offers some good quick perspectives on the macroeconomic conditions.
Sure, I love that.
All right, so I'm the Secretary of Policy Chair of ARIA, Asian Real Estate Association of America. Yesterday, we met with the Federal Reserve of Philadelphia and their consortium regarding the interest rates. Quick things about what they stated. There's no direct correlation between the Federal Reserve's interest rates and the interest rates of mortgages. Interest rates of mortgages are impacted by things like the consumer price index, treasury bond rates, inflation, and also the employment numbers, which is it takes 2 quarters to do reconciliation of those numbers. And housing market impacts inflation is the largest component of the CPI and GDP growth in the country. We have a supply and demand issue because of the lock-in effect, because of construction costs and construction barriers in the local municipalities due to zoning and other issues. Microeconomic conditions here in the city of Philadelphia. The city of Philadelphia 2 weeks ago just passed the $6.8 billion budget and a $2 billion housing action plan, which I've testified on. They are going to issue next year $400 million in municipal bonds, and then 2 years later another $400 million in municipal bonds for the development of 13,500 new construction homes and the preservation of 16,500 preservation of existing homes, which is going to cost us $50 to $65 million in interest service debt over the next decade. So we'll see how the city manages that. And so there's going to be a huge development project that the city already have voted on, and they'll be doing some construction planning over the next couple of months for next year's municipal bonds issuance. And then lastly, governmental policies, including the federal government's HUD, they're restructuring the conservatorship by the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which are the government-sponsored entities that was previously privatized before 2007. So they're looking to privatize Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. They're also looking to cut HUD by about 40% in all of the government programs for HUD. And the trade policies that tax costs of construction, business industries, and commercial border revitalization and infrastructure projects. So we are going to be undergoing in the city of Philadelphia a massive $2 billion real estate project. And it's going to be insane. So we'll see how they manage the municipal bonds issuance and underwriting, as well as all of the additional $1.2 billion that we need to come up with from federal, local, and state government funding. So that's some economic conditions for people in the macro.
That's awesome. If you have not read the budget that the mayor released, you should go read it. What is the transfer tax as of July 1 in the city of Philadelphia? People know the answer.
3.58 plus 4.58.
Go and check. If you don't know the answers, it's the basic stuff that we should know. The transfer tax is going up. By how much? Why? What portion that goes to the city? Are the question that the agent, the client doesn't understand. So go and learn those things.
Oh, real quick on that. So it went up from 3.28 to 3.58. Maybe it's going to go up even more because that's projected to only get us $170 million over 5 years, which only pays half of the service debt on the municipal bonds, and 1% is to the state. So we are now at 4.58%. and that might change in the future as well.
So people were saying it's gone too expensive to buy for transfer tax, you wait longer, it's gonna go even higher. Not because believe me and trust me, because that's what the budget says. So this is the kind of conversation you need to know to become the expert. How would you feel when you go to an accountant and saying, can I write this off? I don't know, I'll get back to you. Is this allowed by doing this as an accountant? I don't know, but I'll get back to you. Or I go to an attorney and saying, is this legally allowed or not? I don't know, but I'll get back to you. That is a good answer we tell people. Tell people that if you don't know, you'll get back to them. But that is not what an expert usually says for the basic questions. You need to know the basic answers, factual based. Otherwise, the trust goes away. I'm not going back to the same accountant. If I ask you 5 questions and 4, I'll get back to you. I need somebody to give me the answers for the. So last slide, tools to educate and build buyer confidence, rent versus buy analysis. This is a fundamental that everybody should know. Go online to search buy versus rent analysis, tons of stuff. Affordability calculator. How much are you paying rent today? How much can you afford? The best way is to get them pre-approved. Get them pre-approved so that they know what they can afford to understand that part. Home buying timeline. When is your lease coming to an expiration? How many days in advance do you start giving notice? How many days does it take to buy something? If they're looking for a unicorn in a unique place, or as a new construction, it can be up to a year. We need to understand the timeline, and not every answer is, hey, 90 days before the lease renewal, let's go start looking. Not necessarily going to work all the time. And the motivation is high, but time doesn't work. Then they go back to renting. Guess what the motivation is? I'll wait for 6 more months. Yeah. Very emotional roller coaster ride. Monthly payment, that breakdown, understanding, principal, interest, tax, and insurance. What does principal mean? Interest is tax deductible to a certain extent. Helping them understand that just because you pay $2,500 in the mortgage payment doesn't mean all that money is compared to your rent liability. Right? So you have to break it down. Last year, the grant program in the first time buyers. There's something called Turn the Key program in the city of Philadelphia. Look it up. Turn the Key program. City is giving $84,000 to some of the people in the city of Philadelphia for becoming first-time home buyers. $80,000+. $80,000+. And if as agents we don't know what that means, how are we going to propose to people that may be eligible? And then they tell 5 other people, you can be a $10 agent tomorrow morning. It's because we don't have the education to show them what's out there. That's all I have. It's my contact. Anything I can answer? Hopefully, open up your mindset a little bit.
For the Turn the Key program, does the buyer have to use like a certain agent on that program, or can they use that?
They can't use it. But these developers will block buyers' agents and not let them in.
So that's what happened. If I had my friend do it, he paid literally nothing, and like, do something I can't use it or something like that. I don't be just saying that.
That's not true, Jim. So if something is being done out of the norm and not legally allowed, I cannot support that. But that's not what's allowed. Like, I know more Rushdie as a friend and a developer. He's not. If you ever block somebody, you call me, I'll get you in. Like, that's not allowed.
I think they have an in-house sales team. They
have in-house sales
teams. They funnel people to them, the buyers, and the communication with whoever. Things that they can't bring in their own people. They're not negotiating the price because it's affordable housing.
I'll rephrase that. There's such limited income that the developer can make.
Yeah.
They are all saying, I'm not paying a buyer side commission.
Yeah.
You have to negotiate for your own buy. And if you're losing on that conversation, that is legally allowed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not, you should be able to get paid from the buyer for bringing the value. If you're telling somebody, I'm going to save you $87,000, you got to pay me X percentage of my time and energy and the information I'm bringing to the table, you can't convince for that. Like, that's what you do.
Yeah, turn the key.
So nobody's going to stop you from bringing the client. They're just going to pay you. You got to pay care because they don't have limit. It's the city controls how much money they can make. So they're trying to cut the cost for expenses all the total. So I don't. That's something I don't think it's true that they will not close the door on you. They're just going to say, I'm not going to cooperate for cooperating broker commission. You got to pay for your buyers.
Yeah, we're gonna see this a lot when this development happens because the land bank assets are in Strawberry Mansion and like the hood, right? Like Strawberry Mansion, Pennsylvania.
Cancel the hood.
Yeah,
nothing called hood.
Yeah, I mean,
legally you cannot say the word, but be careful.
In dilapidated, blighted areas, blighted like, they use the word, they use the word like. So it's in the blighted areas, and so when they develop, they're not negotiating on the price, there's a set price. And so when there's no negotiations, it's like that takes away your power of representation. So we're gonna see a lot of that happen from developers.
It's the education. If I need a program, I'm gonna help you educate it, and I'm gonna walk you through the nuances of the process that costs time and money. I know how to file taxes, but I don't have the time to file taxes. I get my own money. I know how to form a new LLC and get operating agreements, but I'm still not getting an attorney to do that. Because I don't know what I'm gonna miss. It's not worth taking the risk on one of the biggest investments of all. You have to bring the risk. Say, what if somebody goes from? Where are you gonna find some people? I'm gonna help you go from start to the end, and I'll be your professional person. I think you want to move like this. It's not that cool. Any other questions? Hopefully you took something out of this 1 hour of spending time with me.